All right, welcome back to the podcast. My name is Doug Sandler, along with that guy over there, Mr. John Browning, who is actually going to be playing Karnak today. Do you remember Karnak?
I remember Karnak. Yeah.
Johnny Carson playing Karnak. If you're in our audience and you don't know who Karnak is, just ask your parents. They will be able to tell you what it is. We're
Right.
going to do the top 10 things, no, top things, not top 10 things. We actually have six top things to plan for before retirement. You remember what Karnak used to do? He used to rip the envelope and hold it up to his turban. He used to
Yes.
rip it and he'd blow into it and he'd say something silly and it would be the answer to the question. So you have your turban on? You
I
ready to
don't have my turban on, I forgot it today.
All right. Well, we have all of the envelopes in our hands. So we will do the top things to plan for before retirement. Now, the key word is what you said before, John. What's the key word?
Before.
All right. So as you were listening to these are the things that you are going to need to consider before you get to retirement. So don't hit us at the wrong part of the problem here. This is the stuff. Now, let's define that though, John. How far in advance does the word before? How far in advance can they start planning for this stuff?
You can't do it too early. I mean, I have, I think I've said this before. I've got a 17 and 18-year-old client. I've got 20 something clients, and they are not too early. But for the bulk of people out there listening, give me 5 years and we can do some really great things.
All right, I
Give me
like
10
this.
years, even better. But
Okay, all right.
if you come to me 1 year, even just give me 1 year before retirement, we can make some pretty significant progress and changes to what you might currently be doing to make things a lot better for you.
All right, let's get into them. You got six really, really good things that you need to do or plan for before retirement. And so let's just go at them one at a time. Is there any priority to these? I see the six and they all look pretty exciting for me, but which are we just starting with one and working our way to six? Or are we starting at six and working our way backwards?
We're going to start with a one because
All
I
right, let's
think
do it.
that's the most important because it's the one that I see the most problem with, and it has
Okay.
nothing to do with money.
Okay. Tell me about it.
It has everything to do with building your best life.
All right. That's good because that's the name of the podcast.
The name of the podcast, right? So it's the name of the podcast, name of the book, Build a Life, Not a Portfolio. But the question is, what are you going to do? And you would be surprised at how many people retire and really haven't thought about it. They wake up one day, they no longer have to go to work.
Mm,
And by the afternoon, they're going a little stir crazy. Or the next stage is, yes, I can go fishing like all the time, or I can go golfing all the time, or I can do
right.
whatever it is that they like to do. And then they find out on their 2000th day of fishing or golfing that maybe there is some other things that I need to figure out to do. So what are you going to do? Where are you going to live? Nobody said you had to stay in your same house. Maybe
You
you've
know,
got a
it's
big
interesting.
house.
It's interesting that you're saying this. I would think that again, I'm almost 60, so I'm in that 5 year plus horizon somewhere in there. Let's call it 5 to 10 years away from that. And I don't know that I'm ever going to stop working because I love doing what I do, but at the same time, it's that I'm going to continue because I want to rather than I have to. But the whole idea of where am I going to live and will I sell my house or will I downsize? You know, I haven't even given that even a second of thought when it came to retirement. And I would assume that a lot of people are just like me.
Yeah, we had 6 kids, so we had a fairly large house in Illinois. And we're now down in Florida, and we don't need that big of a house. Who wants to clean it? I mean,
Right,
who
right.
wants to keep up with it, right? And you'd be surprised how many older adults live in that same house with 4 or 5 bedrooms, and they don't really need it, nor do they and then they complain about keeping it up. You just downsize a little bit. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. And maybe get a place you enjoy a little bit more. In a place you enjoy a little bit more. Do you want to live close to the grandkids, or maybe just far enough away from the grandkids,
I
right?
I uh I love what you said before you even started this one. It's part of building your best life, and it really isn't financially motivated decision, but it could be part of the financial decision. If you live
Sure.
in a smaller house in a different state, I'm sure you took a pretty good a pretty good slash of your real estate taxes when you move from Illinois to Florida. At least I'm hoping you did if you downsized a little bit and paying less real estate taxes.
A little bit, a little bit. We're still trying to decide where we want to live down here. We actually haven't bought anything down here, so we're
Oh,
just
interesting. So just make the move to see if you even like it. See, and that's all a part of the process also, not necessarily motivated by the financial decision, but it's more motivated by the lifestyle decision. Where do you want to live and what do you
Mhm.
want to do? This is a really good one. All right, so that's a good one. All right, talk to me about strategy or things I need to consider before I retirement. Number two.
Yeah. So two quick notes on
Oh
that.
yeah,
That
go ahead.
whole
Sorry, I
idea
didn't
that
mean
you
to cut
said,
you off there.
try it before you buy it.
Okay, I love that.
There's a
Rent,
lot of
rent.
people that moved down here to Florida that found out, you know what, I don't like it here.
Yep,
Or I like a different part of Florida or whatever. So try it before you buy it. Rent for a while. It's not going to kill you. It's not going to go up that much. Just it's fine.
good plan.
Figure out if you're going to like it. And the other thing to remember is, are you before you retire? Are you excited about retirement and why?
Hmm. Okay.
Some
Well,
people aren't. You'd be
I,
surprised.
I, I'm not really, I don't know how I feel about it. I always feel like as a self-employed guy, I mean, this is just my own perspective, but it's like, I really like doing what I do. I don't know that I want to stop. I like knowing that I don't have to do it any longer, but all of that is just a mindset, I think. But being excited about retirement, being excited about doing maybe traveling or fishing or playing golf or whatever it is, I don't know. I kind of like work. That's okay.
Well, here's the thing. You know what? We've got a podcast planned that's going to kind of address that about small business owners coming up
Okay.
in a week or two. So,
Hint, hint, that's coming out.
yeah.
I have that slated for coming out next week.
There we go. Okay. All
All right,
right.
all right. So that's good too. That's to give you a little spoiler alert on the next episode that is coming your way. All right, what else do we need to do? What do we need to do before we get to retirement? What should we be planning on doing?
So, what's your spending strategy? Because we know that even now, before we retire, right? If you either control your spending or your spending controls you, right?
Very, very true.
We already know this. In retirement, it can be even more challenging, especially in those first several years of retirement, because you have more time
Mm.
to think of things to spend your money on.
Yeah, you haven't gotten yet in that groove of okay, what does retirement feel like? You're now just standing idle, kind of doing things. And you mentioned something, and I want to really emphasize this. We did an episode of this a few months back about budget isn't a four-letter word. It's like, hey, look, people sometimes feel like their budget controls them because by coming up with a budget, it controls them. But I look at the exact opposite way, that by having a budget, I control what I have rather than it controlling me.
Yeah, that's absolutely the truth. It's not that you have to be like regimented either. It's just that you kind of know where things are going. Give each dollar a job. Each dollar has a purpose, and you use it for that purpose, and all of that. But the other reason that this is so important is when you have a spending strategy in retirement, you can arrange your cash flows from the right accounts so that you pay just the right amount of taxes.
That's good.
And if you don't have a strategy for that and you're not taking it from the right, I'll call them buckets of money, then you could end up paying a lot more in taxes than you need to. And as I always say, if you can control your taxable income, you also then, as a result, control your Medicare costs.
So how, and maybe I'm just not thinking about this correctly. How is a spending strategy different than having a budget?
So if you've got a certain amount of money, say in a Roth, so it's tax free when it comes out to you, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And then you have another bucket where it's taxable. So that's your traditional 401k, IRA, or something like that. Or maybe you have a pension fund that's paying you, or a drop program, or if you're in
Yep.
a first responder or something like that.
Yep.
And that's all taxable coming to you. Okay, depending on the year and where you've taken gains from, and should you take it from the Roth,
Okay.
or should you allow that to grow a little bit more, or should you take it from the taxable accounts like the 401k, IRA, or maybe should you preserve both of those and just take They can even be a little bit less taxes than the 401k and IRA because you're paying tax on the full amount that's coming out of there.
Right.
You take it from a taxable account that you've just been saving for this purpose, because sometimes early in your retirement, you've got more taxable income than you want. In order to reduce it, you actually don't tap into your IRA or your Roth IRA first. You tap into that taxable account you've been working on. And that way, only your gains are taxed. So
I
there's
love it.
a
Okay.
whole
So
strategy around that.
I got it. So the strategy, I understand a budget is more related to just money going out the door for specific expense. And you're talking about a strategy where you're pulling that money from so that you're creating a cash flow. So you're reducing your tax liability, but potentially not if you have things that you can pull it out of that actually will be to your advantage to pay taxes now as opposed to holding on to those dollars a little bit later on.
Exactly.
I get that. So strategy versus budget, understood. Anything
Yep.
before we move on to the third one? Because this one I think this is more aligned with the budget. I think this third one.
Yeah, let's go on to number 3.
All right, number 3. How do you match your spending with your income or cash flow? Man, wouldn't it be great if you were at a positive cash flow still in retirement, meaning you're spending less money than you are bringing in from your investments and the money that you have to pull down. So how does one accomplish? How do you match your spending with your income or your cash flow?
Yeah, and this is even some planning softwares don't really account for this really well, because many times it's assumed that you will be selling assets like growth stocks that don't pay a dividend and things like that in order to fund your cash flow. In general, that tends to not be a great idea, and that's because of sequence of returns risk, which we talk about in episode 161, I believe.
What
We should
you're
do it. We should do another one because that's been a long time
that
ago.
if you remember that, that is incredible. You must refer that episode out a lot.
I do, because it's a really misunderstood topic. We definitely should cover it again in a more recent episode. But sequence of returns risk, I'll explain it really briefly, is the risk that you will end up selling an asset when it's in a downturn.
Mm,
So, say
mhm.
March of 2020, you're relying on your growth portfolio, your growth stocks that are not paying a dividend to be, oh, I don't care whether it's a capital gain or it's a dividend. I've heard this from financial advisors, by the way. Yes, you do. You do, because if the market is taking a downturn and you were planning on taking a capital gain, suddenly you're taking, number one, a capital loss, and
Mm,
number two, to exacerbate the problem, you've now sold more of that growth portion than
right.
were planning on, and you have less to recover with.
Yeah.
That sequence of returns, and a lot of times I need to explain that 3 or 4 times. So if you don't get it on that little short explanation, don't feel bad. Reach out to us, guardianrockwealth.com, or text the word life to 321-421-5213. Schedule some time with me, because it is a crucial part of your planning.
Oh, what a fascinating concept. These first three are things oftentimes many people just completely bypass: spending strategy, lifestyle, income, cash flow. That is well, the cash flows. I mean, I think more people think of that, but not that last part that you just said, the sequence of returns. Is that what you call it?
Sequence of returns risk. Yeah.
Okay. Sequence of returns risk. You've got to get on the phone with John because I'll tell you, he'll set you straight. All right, let's go on to the let's go on to the next one.
Yeah. Number 4 is kind of related to some of the things we've already been talking about, but how do you create that cash flow in the right amounts from the right accounts, right? From everything we've already talked about, in a way that doesn't cause yourself to have excess tax payments. So if you haven't thought about how to minimize your taxable income, then not only will your taxes be higher and be paying more in taxes than you should, you'll also be paying higher medical costs, because medical costs when you're in Medicaid, so when you turn 65, right? Everybody goes on,
Medicare.
not Medicaid, Medicare.
Yeah,
They go
I
on
figured
Medicare.
that's what you meant, Medicare.
Yeah, I should clarify that.
Yeah.
you go into this government program. Guess how they determine how much you pay for that?
Based upon your income,
Your taxable income.
taxable income. Sorry, I should have known that.
Yes. Because you can have all kinds of income, but it's not taxable. They go based off of your tax statements.
So you want to minimize your taxable income to minimize your deduction for Medicare through Social Security. Is that correct? Did I say that right?
It's more, yeah, because you actually pay something for Medicare,
Of
right?
course.
When you retire. So how much you pay, and it's much like even now with the marketplace insurance.
Mm-hmm.
That's how much you pay for that insurance is determined based on your taxable income. Same thing with Medicare, except you no longer have your company paying your medical, a
Right.
big portion of your medical cost. You're responsible for the whole thing. That's a big difference from what you're used to. So you can reduce that amount by showing less taxable income. And in addition to that, if you get your taxable income low enough, your Social Security is not taxed either. I believe it's around 32,000 right now. You can make in taxable income, and your Social Security then is not taxed.
Hmm. Okay.
Another. You say, "Oh, that's not that big a deal." It can be a really big deal,
Yeah,
especially over time.
that sounds like that is a very big deal. And again, if you're not familiar with any of these concepts that John is sharing, now is the time more than ever to get some clarification. Get on the phone with John, somebody from his team, or if he's not the right guy within his team, I know he knows the right guys on his team or women on his team to be able to help you out with that. All right, let's keep moving through that. Unless you have anything to add to number 4.
Nope. I'm
All
ready for
right.
number 5.
All right, let's go into number 5. I love this one because this is sometimes how I feel in the morning. How is my body going to feel versus later in retirement? God, is it going to get worse, John? Is it going to get
Yeah,
worse?
from what I've heard, it doesn't get better.
Oh,
So unless they come up with that, what is it, the
fountain
stone,
of
Harry
youth.
Potter, but yeah, fountain of youth. Unless they figure that out, yeah, it's not going to get better.
All right,
So,
so how does what your body feels like have to do with anything when it comes to planning for retirement?
so when you retire, right? If you've thought about number one, right, what are you going to do, and you're excited about it and all that, you're going to want to do stuff, probably,
Right.
right?
I think so.
You want to do some traveling and everything else. I can tell you that my 85-year-old dad has exactly zero desire to get on an airplane.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just hurts.
Right.
It's too much trouble, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we all want to think we're going to be this age forever, right?
Mm,
However old we are, that's that we're always going to
right.
feel this way until we get to it's even harder to get out of bed the next morning after a good workout, right? So you're not likely to feel 15 years into your retirement, you're not likely to feel as much like
Yeah.
even golfing, right? I mean, in golfing you can go a pretty long time, but you're not going to want to do it as much, right?
Sometimes just pushing the remote buttons is a challenge, you know?
That's
It's like,
right.
I kind of like my sofa. It's a little bit lumpy today, but yeah, I'm pushing that damn remote is has been a challenge.
It's funny. I was talking with a group of Harley riders because I'm a Harley guy,
Yep, me too.
and actually, I'm just a motorcycle guy. I don't care if you ride a Harley or anything else. But and we were talking about it. It's funny, you spend all day in the saddle. For me, all day means like 4 or 5 hours. That's like my max. But
That's a long time in the size,
yeah,
60 miles. And I used to put that thing away. I had to trade my Harley in for a old Mustang. So, but I
there you
got four wheels, a lot more stable.
yeah, a lot more stable. Yeah, but you get to the end of that day and you get off the bike and you stretch, and the first thing you really want to do is sit down. How does that
Sounds
make sense, right? But
just
it's
been
just the
sitting.
way your body changes, right?
Yep,
And
yep.
and what that has to do with is you're probably going to spend more in the early years of retirement because you're going to want to do more than
Very
in your
true.
later years
Very
of retirement.
true. And I know one of the things that you have to consider are other expenses that you're going to have potentially in retirement for to keep your body in top shape. Might even be considering things like long-term care insurance. I know that's one of the things that you need to consider too as a part
Right.
of it may not have been 10 years in the planning before retirement, maybe long-term care insurance isn't what you were thinking about, but maybe you're 5 years closer to it now. And maybe you're thinking, geez, if my body feels like this now, it may be much worse when I get to retirement. So how
Yeah,
does long-term care insurance fit into the process here?
it really does fit in, and in my opinion, everybody needs it. It's just at a certain stage in your life, and there's ways to do it in an affordable way. Like if you've had, say, a life insurance policy that, frankly, it's not serving the same purpose as it did before. It was protecting your family before. They've all moved on. They're very successful. Maybe you
Yep.
convert that through you can do an exchange where it's not a taxable event, and you can do some things with that to make it into a long-term care policy. there
Interesting.
there are strategies for that in the insurance world, and it's more affordable than people think. It's still no fun to pay insurance. I hate paying my car insurance and the home insurance. I hate paying all that stuff, but when you need it, and most of us are going to need it, especially the way we're lasting longer, we're living longer, but sometimes things break more. So our nursing homes and our home care agencies, which I used to own one, those are all getting busier and busier because we're lasting longer, but we're not necessarily able to do everything. And it becomes very expensive. So long-term care insurance, definitely part of what you plan for.
All right. And anything else from that category before we move on to this last one, what you should be planning for before retirement?
Yeah, that's I mean, we could talk all day about all this stuff, but yeah, number six is a big one that gets neglected a lot too, and it's, what's my plan for when I pass on? Because we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I like to think old is 5 years older than I am at all times, but
All times. It's just a constant
but
moving
just a
timeline.
constant moving. Yes, I'll be 90 years old, and old is 95. Yeah.
Understood. Understood. Well, this is a good one. I mean, some people plan on this really early. They're like buy an insurance policy when they first get married, even before they have kids, to help with the situation in case something happens to them. Then when kids come along, it's what's the plan, for my kids? And now it's what happens if I pass, have a mortgage still, there might be some payments, credit cards, whatever. Or what do I want to leave as a legacy to my kids to help them with their kids a little bit later on? Some people just don't like to think about that.
Yeah, and it's hard to talk about, but frankly, the parents that talk to their kids about this, it's so much better when they do, because we're all going to pass, right? That's one of the things I can say guaranteed about. We
Mm-hmm.
are all going to die. So when you prepare your family for that and you make it easy for them, whoever's your executor, you make it easy for them to plan that out. And we have a couple different partners that we work with that just do a marvelous job at putting together. And I actually did a recent podcast. I think it's only been a few months ago, maybe. We did a podcast with one of them and planning for, as you near the end of your life, to make it easier on you, because you're not feeling like a burden on your family, and also easier on your family. They know exactly what to do, when to do it, who to contact, how to do it, what your wishes are. All of that is in place. You've got your trust in place. You've got your full estate plan in place, and everybody knows. There's no shocks and no surprises with that. And here's another real quick tip, and we can end with this because this one's gone a little bit long. But the idea that, hey, I really want to leave my kids something,
Mm.
but you know what? I want to spend some money in retirement. I want to enjoy my retirement. How do I do that? If that's important to you, and it's not important to everyone, but it's important to you to leave something to something, somebody, I can show you how to leave $1 million to someone. Do rough math here. I'll show you how you can leave $1 million to save the whales, or what, or your kids, or whatever, for a fraction of that,
Mm.
using a life insurance policy. Leverage
Excellent.
those dollars, then it's there. And you can do it as a single premium if you want at one point in time, or you can do it in a series of premiums. And it's a great way to still be able to spend your retirement without saying I'm not going to be able to leave my kids something.
All right. A lot of stuff to digest on this one. We went a little long on this episode, but it was because the important things are those 6 things that you need to deal with before retirement. Again, the operative word there is before. And John mentioned it a little bit earlier in the episode, but if John, you'll mention it one more time, how do people get in touch with you so that they can start the process of getting ready for retirement? If you've done nothing, now is the time. If you've done something and you want to check what you have done, check with a professional, Mr. John Browning. He's going to help you build your best life in retirement. How do they get in touch with you, John?
So first thing is grab your cell phone. Just get that cell phone out. And one of the ways is to go to guardianrockwealth.com, and there's a contact us section. But now that you have your cell phone in your hand, text 321-421-5213. It's, if you're on YouTube, it's right down there at the bottom of the screen. And then text the word life to that number, 321-421-5213. You'll get links to all my information, including a way to schedule a meeting directly on my calendar.
Oh, very cool. All right. So do that and do that now, and don't wait, because now is the time for you to start planning. If you haven't done any of that planning, now is the time. John, thanks for sharing your expertise. Thanks for sharing the list, and see you again next week.
All right. We'll see you.